Abertos então os trabalhos, vamos começar com um primeiro painel intitulado Desafios do Financiamento e a Liberdade de Escolha. Vou começar por chamar os primeiros três intervenientes. Antoine Georges-Picot é um orador vindo de França, vai centrar a intervenção nos modelos de financiamento inovadores, vai contar-nos a experiência francesa. É um economista, CEO de uma consultora com mais de 25 anos de experiência em consultoria de gestão na área da saúde, no setor público, estando envolvido na concepção e implementação de políticas de saúde para pagadores, prestadores e fornecedores em França e na Europa também. Outro orador é Ricardo Mestre, administrador hospitalar, vogal da Administração Central do Sistema de Saúde e, por fim, peço também a Sofia Crisóstomo que se junte ao painel. Sofia Crisóstomo é farmacêutica, coordenadora do projeto Mais Participação, Melhor Saúde, um projeto de ativismo que promove a participação dos cidadãos na definição de políticas públicas e também dando contributos para a organização do próprio SNS. Vou pedir a primeira intervenção do nosso primeiro orador, Antoine.
Bom dia, muito obrigado pelo convite. Estou muito contente de estar aqui graças a duas antigas estudantes brilhantes do técnico que trabalham comigo. Ou melhor, continuar em inglês. So I'm going to talk about innovative funding. Of course, I will talk from French perspective because we are currently reviewing our funding system very deeply. And of course, these questions, in fact, are rising in nearly most of the most advanced European countries. In your country, Portugal, already you have done a lot of things years ago. And of course, I will be very interested by the debate about this question. All the funding system is very at the heart of the health system because it needs to review, with the medical improvement, we need to review our economic model, especially for hospitals. And we know the main reason, the cost of spending for healthcare is growing faster than GDP. So we have to adapt our funding scheme to this situation. And especially with the role of medical devices and medical drugs improvement that oblige to change the way we treat and the way we finance the treatment. The question, of course, is varied. It depends on the countries. I took three pictures, one from England. Remember that one of the main reasons for leave was the fact that the money England was giving to EU will be reinvested in National Health Service. We know what arrived by the end. Second picture is from United States, the debate about Obamacare. And the third one is from France. In France, as you know, we have big debates about the DRG system, which is accused of many bias and impact on the health system. In France, we had, during the past 30 years, we tried three different systems. The classical one, it was the time of the 70s, you were paid fee for service. And of course, it contributed to the modernization of the health system, but at the same time, it has a great impact on the growth of the healthcare expenses. That's why we decided in the 80s to move to a block budget. Very interesting, of course, the growth diminished very quickly, but at the same time, everything was frozen. All the situations were frozen. And in the 20th, we decided to move to a DRG system for hospitals, and we implemented it between 2004 and 2008. Very quickly, nobody at the beginning, I remember at the beginning, nobody believed it will be implemented. By the end, we discussed yesterday with Alexander about that question. We are pretty conservative in France for many subjects, and especially the way we organize our health system. We move slowly. And now, after 10 years of these DRG systems, the new health minister, Mrs. Agnès Buzyn, decided really to introduce bundle payments. Because we'll see the main reason, the main criticism about DRG, you know them because you also use this system. It pushed to increasing the volume, and everybody is running for more volume, which is not a health objective by itself. About the innovation, it is not a good way of helping, new way of taking in charge the patient, because everything is focused. The interest of hospital is keeping the patient inside the hospitals, not to help him to move from one place to another, between town and hospital. And of course, there is no consideration about the whole pathway for the patient. On the opposite, what we expect, and we'll be very interested to listen from what you have already done in your country, the bundle payments return to the patient because it organizes the payment around the pathway with the objective, and of course the result we already observe, of increasing the quality and the efficiency of care. It promotes coordination. So I will go to what already we have been done in France, and 3 examples. The first one is about HIV. It was the first, HIV changed a lot of things in our health system in every country. In France, it was the opportunity to introduce the idea that we will authorize drugs in a shorter time, and we will authorize them to be used even if all the proof had not been given. And since 1997, I mean 20 years ago, first we decided that all the cost of this drug will be in addition to the block budget, which was a necessity. And secondly, we decided very quickly to say this drug has to be accessible from the pharmacist, the community pharmacist. And there were great debate how to help the community pharmacies that has a limited number of patients which have HIV. And now, after 20 years of doing that, what is very interesting is to see that, in fact, patients choose the way they want their drug to be delivered. Some of them, about 1/3, is still attached to the fact they will go to the hospital to get their drugs, for mainly intimacy reasons. But 2/3 of them are very happy to get their drug from their close to them pharmacy, or sometimes from the town beside their home. That was the first example. We tried to facilitate the pathway of the patient. The second one we're just working on, currently my team and my famous Portuguese estudiantes are helping me. And we are working to try to facilitate the follow-up of oral therapy for cancer. You know all around this table that oral therapy has really changed the way patients have their treatment. And for the last years, we decided that now the oral therapy will be bought direct, it will be prescribed within the hospital and bought at the pharmacies. But of course, the follow-up of the adverse event, of the question for the patient, were a difficult challenge for this pharmacist. Therefore, we are with the National Pharmacists Association, with Unicancer, with the French government, we are implementing an experiment to organize the follow-up of this treatment, and especially with the cooperation between the hospital pharmacy and the in-town pharmacists, just to train them to make the conciliation, comparing what are the drugs the patient is already taking and what will be the effect of the prescribed oral therapy. And you see on this scheme, which is not very easy to see if you are back in this room, but there is all a process associating the pharmacist, a coordination nurse. There is a rising role of coordination nurse in all this bundle payment system, and of course IT to follow and collect all the information about this event. And we are, I took this example because it's a very good example of what is about how drugs can be delivered and followed. We'll have the same kind of piece of work for very costly drugs. How the way they are up to now, you can have a drug that costs perhaps 100,000 euros a year delivered in just visits that would be paid 23 euros. And we are trying to implement a more sophisticated process associating companion tests and other way of following the prescription. So all these projects are ongoing. And the last one I want to talk about, which is just really at its beginning, it's about using quality indicators to fund the organizations. We are starting from the most advanced example we have up to now, but perhaps there are something in your country. It was from Taiwan, who implement this kind of payments. Of course, it raises a lot of questions about what kind of indicators, and especially what Netherlands and Sweden are doing now, how you include patient-reported experience or outcome measures, which raise a lot of questions about how to collect, what kind of results we want to measure, how do we collect them, how we discuss about them, and of course, what impact on the funding. We are the first step of that approach, and of course, we see that in many countries, everybody is thinking about that because behind that there is the patient satisfaction and patient outcomes, which are very important. And what is pretty interesting, we are moving from mainly economic approach to a patient approach. This is a good shift, I think, in the way we approach. To conclude, some very simple ideas. First, we have a large range of structure of payments. And in fact, in every country, we will mix fee for service, block budget for certain activities, DRG for others, and bundle payment for the last ones. It has a big impact on human organizations, the roles. The gains are, we will all think that gains are really behind this approach. We need, what is very important, especially in France, the leadership of doctors. No project of this kind can really succeed without the leadership of the project, of doctors from the beginning of the project. And of course, the way we work in France for that is to test and learn approach, which is a big shift in our traditional approach where the government was thinking and you were going to test what the government has imagined. We are in a different approach. We said to the doctors, to hospitals, propose new approach, and we will test and learn during the 3 coming years. Thank you for your attention.